Hi, Rigsters here. Welcome back to the journey. Today we'll be covering a weird, oddball tank destroyer, the Somua SAu40. This tank destroyer has a reputation of, even back when it was new years ago, for being very mediocre to being almost combat ineffective. But I'm still going to play and demonstrate this tank today, because why not? It's French. Like as before, as I normally do, I will be doing a 2-match review with showing net credits earned near the end of the video. For this particular tank, it has 2 cannon options that I will demonstrate and use in 1 match each. And I'll show you on the research tree. The 75mm AC SA40 or a very derpy 105mm AC Court MOE 1934S. The latter cannon can be very tricky and a mouthful to blab about. So let me start off as usual with talking about mobility for this tank. It goes 37 kilometers forward, which is mediocre at best, to an okayish 12 kilometers in reverse. The engine power starts off at 220, with the upgraded engine only adding 260 horsepower. So it goes from 220 to 260, as demonstrated here. It's not good to win races, but it is certainly faster than my previous episode of when I covered the AMX40 Duck Mobile. Let's next talk about the cannon choices and options for this particular tank destroyer. This tank has a horrendous stock cannon. The 75mm APX MOE 1938 is almost worthless. It only has 68mm of normal AP pen, which is your standard round. Gold rounds is a waste at 92. And 38mm of HE pen is workable, but it's pretty much worthless. I would advise right away to use free experience that you earn over time to get the upgraded suspension, and then get the 75mm AC, which has a 100mm pen for standard rounds, 129 for gold, and the same HE pen. It's vastly superior. I mean, it has the same rate of fire, has a little more accuracy. Instead of 0.45 dispersion at 100 meters, it goes to 0.41. That is a significant improvement. You'll see in the match when I demonstrate this. And of course, what everybody prefers to use, but it's not always practical. However, I want to still use it anyways. The 105mm AC Court 1934S has 53mm of normal HE pen and 104 gold round pen. I believe that's going to be heat, but I'll see that once I mount the gun. It is much slower rate of fire, only 7 rounds a minute, but when you hit, and it hits slightly armored vehicles, which it can still frequently encounter at this bracket in tier, it will do a lot more damage on average, potentially. It just depends on what you shoot at. Let alone hit, for that matter. With that, let's move on to the radio. The radio starts off at abysmal 300 meters. You're not going to see what other people are seeing around you very well. The next one, the 360, is okay. It's passable for a tier 4 tank destroyer. The elite one, which is 455, is okay, but it's still going to be kind of blind and running around. It's just not very good. Let's just put it that way. It's pretty abysmal with radio range, which tank destroyers in this game are the sniper class. They kind of need good signal range because their view range usually is lackluster. As before, I have the crew at 75% to start off with. That's almost 100% value. The hull armor, which I'll show right here on the front, which is around here, is 36mm thick. It will stop autocannon rounds, but not a whole lot else. The sides are 35mm, and the rear is 35. So it's pretty uniform, but you're not going to tank very well. It's not really made to trade hits very easily, if at all. And the view range is abysmal, but it's okay for tier 4 that doesn't have an open top turret. 295 with 75% crew. With 100% crew, it is 330, which is okay. It's not great, it's just okay. So let's mount these upgrades real quick here. And I'll start off with the first match with the 75mm AC SA40. So for the upgraded 75mm, because you're not going to be using the stock gun, trust me, you don't want it. Don't even bother playing this tank with the stock gun. AP rounds for the 75mm upgraded is 70 credits a round for AP. If you like wasting money for no reason, you could spend with APCR 168,000 credits. That is way too much for a tier 4 that's never going to take advantage of that. NHE for this particular cannon is actually really cheap. Only 38 credits a round. I mean, even normal armor piercing is very affordable. Most of the time you'll fire armor piercing. And as before, as I covered in older videos, I'm not going to be going over consumables because I assume you either watched that or know that by now. I'm not going to be mounting upgrades for the equipment because it's a tier 4. There's really no specialized equipment slot. The only thing I would briefly say on this is that the best thing you could probably do to improve this tank destroyer the most is probably either get improved ventilation or faster aiming speed. Those two are very useful. And maybe get either coated optics or binocular telescope. But coated optics being more versatile, binoculars more situational. Camouflage net and low exhaust system also are a useful choice as well. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get into a match with the upgraded 75mm. I'll see you there. Got into a match here. It took 28 seconds to find a match, which I think finding matches is much easier, like I said in older videos with my tier 3 and tier 2 review. The higher tier you go, generally the faster the matchmaking queue is. There's also a unique thing on this particular server cluster. They now, or at least temporarily added, US East back into the server clusters. So that pretty much means I get better ping, potentially. And so far, that's been the case. So we're on the map Hakura. I can't pronounce it very well, so I do apologize in advance, but that is how I try to pronounce it. It's a brawling map. It's equal tier, so it's tier 4 or under. So this is actually a good way to potentially demonstrate the tank. It's not very fast, as you can see. I have like all the module upgrades, and yeah. On flight ground, I'm only going 25 kilometers. Not very quick. Also, unlike other tanks, this since this is the first tank destroyer I've covered for the channel, it has a limited arc of fire, so meaning that the you have to turn it on the tracks to aim. Oh my. Got hit hard there. Oh my. It seems like the Locust really wants me dead. That is a tier 3 US American tank. Yeah. That's not good. So I'm gonna back up. As you can see, he's also firing gold shots, so that's another reason why I'm backing out of here. There's no point in trading shots with it if it's going to keep constantly pounding at me like that. It's better off just to relocate, and they're already breaking off. And according to this mini-map on the bottom right corner of the screen here, in the town, it looks like everyone's starting to reposition already. Or at least the enemy team's repositioning. They get one hit so far and tanked 110 damage, which is good. I mean, that's not a bad start. I probably should have moved a little bit sooner, but since it's so sluggish, you can't always tell if you should move or not, because movement also affects dispersion, even more so on various tank destroyers. This gun seems like it's very accurate. I mean, you can see I was hitting that M22 Locust that's spamming gold rounds. Oh, I missed. Wow. Oh, come on, guys. Get out of the way. Oh, I missed. I have to aim a little bit lower. Oh, man. Oh, gosh, I feel so bad. I mean, I had the kill shot on that T-28, and I just couldn't get it done. I mean, the dispersion also doesn't help either, but that'll probably get better in due time. I mean, the crew's at 75%. So, I'll go on to a match with the 105 and go from there. So, that match was a win with the 75mm, which was good. I mean, I'm happy with the win, but I'm kind of a little bit cautiously optimistic about the 105. I'm hoping if I hit with this gun, it'll solve my problems with hitting the target and it goes down faster. This is what the 105 looks like. It's definitely stubbier, I can tell you that. Let's see what the ammunition cost is before I go into match number 2. So it only fires high explosive. That's what they mean by the community of World of Tanks means by derp gun, HE only, or high explosive anti-tank only. If you were to spend 4,000 credits a round for heat, which I don't know why you would, but if you didn't care, 180,000. So, yeah, if you want to waste that much money on a tier 4, be my guest. So, the rounds are more expensive, though, for the standard. 128 credits a shot versus 70 for the 75. However, because you're potentially doing more damage, the potential to make more money is there. So, let's go into match number 2. Now we're on El Haluf again. I mean, I think I've seen double with this map sometimes. I do see this map quite frequently when I play this game, so it's like, oh gosh, this map again. Now with the 105mm, I can tell, yeah, right off the gate that the dispersion circle is really worrying. It's really wide when going at full speed. The matching is still decent though. Still got a little more tier 4s to contend with, but this is tier 3 and 4, so it's not like I'm at a huge major disadvantage. I just might struggle against certain tanks. I have no idea how well this tank's going to do in this particular part of the area, but I can't be out in the open either. It doesn't have the stealth to work with, which is kind of an oxymoronic thing for tank destroyers in general. Some tank destroyers are just absolutely abysmal when it comes to being stealthy, but they make up for it in different ways. This tank's okay. I mean, I don't hate playing this tank. It's just unusual. otherwise known as is French. So let me take a shot at this M3 Stuart here. I'm gonna take a wild guess. Oh man, that would have been a great connection. I'm gonna take one more shot at them. You can blind fire in this game as well. Nope, that's not gonna work. Alright, well, it was worth trying. I mean, what else am I gonna do? Oh, hey! The Chinese in the way. That is a tier 4 Japanese light tank. It's a decent tank, but man, it's very fragile. Although, ironically, I think it has more armor than this tank destroyer. I think it does, on paper, at least. Paper tank, paper armor, anyone? So, with that weird observation note, this is T-28 and a Valentine here. I'm gonna position my gun like this and lock the hull with the X key. I want to fire, but I don't want to waste a shot. Let's try now. There we go. Now I'm backing out. Oh god. Now I'm surrounded. I gotta start moving. Let's see here. Aha! There we go. 295. That was a good hit. HE roll. Come on. 1 second. Ah. You gotta be kidding me. Panzer IIIs are a good hard counter to this tank. And that's the other thing about this particular one. The front turret on top, or they call it the tumor turret, is part of the reason why you don't see these very often. Because he was able to hit that while it was undercover. It's a weak spot on this tank, and I don't understand why. The 105mm match was a little bit better in terms of damage. I'm going to be showing now the end results of these two matches. So the one on the left here is the 75mm upgraded, and the one on the right here is the HE damage upgrade. So with that in mind here, let's look at the standard count payout here. So the 75mm on a win of 6 shots fired and only hit twice for 218 damage, using a consumable because I didn't want to lose the commander immediately because that would have been disastrous. I walked away with 1,146 credits net earned. With premium, that would be 4,280. That is abysmal in terms of profit Tier 4 can make. Because usually Tier 4s you can walk away between, I've noticed, 2 to 8,000 on standard. But then again, I did use a consumable to make sure I keep the commander experience when because if he dies, he doesn't gain as much experience at the end of the match. For the one on the right here, the 105, the one I just did, that also was a bit perplexing with the team and stuff, but it did much more damage. Only fired 4 shots, 3 of them were direct hits, and 2 of it which was splash damage. The total damage was 697. So in theory, the 105 does much more damage than the 75, at least in terms of short-range brawling. I'm not sure outside of that it's going to be as effective on certain maps, but it may work out better. I mean, so far, based on what I've seen with just those 2 matches, the 105 is certainly more fun to use. I'm just not sure how more effective it could be. But at least it's a viable option. I mean, obviously, I'm actually hitting stuff even with a derpy 105. Walked away with 5,397 credits earned on standard. And on premium, I would earned 9,112. This is a much better payout for Tier 4 standard pay. Could have been higher if I lived longer, but the turret on the little top of the hull really makes it hard to use. If it's not a whole lot I could have done about it. So, in conclusion, this tank is okay if you buy upgrades for it and you sort of know what you're doing. But it's a lot of work to get this tank to work, per se. It's definitely unique, though. I mean, it has its moments, but it's certainly not for beginners. I would definitely say this is a tank you may want to either learn tank destroyers from another branch, or you take the time to learn tank destroyers, because even I was a little bit more familiar with these particular vehicles, tend to struggle with the top turret. The next time around, when I cover awarded tanks, I will be covering the AMX ELC Biz on the light tank path. It will be the first tank in the series that actually can go fast, which is the whole point of the French line, is speed and mobility. So that would be kind of fun to cover. Hope you enjoyed this video. Rigsters Journey, signing off.